hopefully this is going to be the ultimate version of chocolate cake, but with peanut butter buttercream. So let's go over to the test kitchen and give this thing a shot. Okay, so I've got all of my mise en place done here, and there's a lot of different ingredients here, so I'm going to give all of the measurements in cups and grams, weights and measures down in the description box. That way we can just move this video along a little quicker. I've got organic all-purpose flour. I have a blend here of organic cocos. The darker cocoa is the Dutch process, and then there's also regular cocoa there. I've got a blend here of organic granulated and dark brown sugars, baking powder, baking soda, and sea salt. Then for our wet ingredients, I've got 8 ounces of cultured Vermont butter for this. I'm trying out a different butter here, other than usually I use the Kerrygold. I've got 7 ounces of the Lindt Excellence 78% dark chocolate. This is a really beautiful, robust chocolate. A tablespoon there of the vanilla, 3 eggs, and whole fat buttermilk, all going in. Okay, so let's get started on making this beautiful chocolate cake. So now the first thing you're going to want to do is sift together all of your dry ingredients. And what I'm doing here is a little bit of a different twist on most of the cakes that I make. I normally will use, the foaming method, like the French baking techniques. But this one is kind of opposite, and I'm using the American Biscuit Method. And for those of you who make homemade biscuits, it kind of takes its name from that, where you cut the butter into the dry ingredients first. And the biggest difference between biscuits and a cake, obviously, is you're going to want to have all of your ingredients at room temperature. And the main reason for that, other than the fact that you want all of your ingredients in a cake at room temperature so that the cake bakes evenly, but also we're putting warm melted chocolate into this cake batter at the end, and you're not going to want to put melted chocolate into cold cake batter. It's not going to probably go very well. So first thing I'm going to do here is, and I'm going to sift all these dry ingredients here right into the stand mixer. So that's the first step. So in goes the flour and the cocoa. Sift that first. So I'm going to even sift the sugars into this, get all the lumps out of the brown sugar. And when you're using organic, especially, it's important to sift. I try to use organic, non-GMO ingredients in all of my baking. So you want to definitely sift those. They're less processed than the regular stuff. So you want to get all those lumps out of your ingredients. I'm also going to be adding the baking powder, baking soda, and the sea salt straight into that. And that's all of your dry ingredients. So then once you have all of your dry ingredients sifted into your stand mixer mixing bowl, take a whisk and make sure you whisk all of that again. Make sure it's combined really, really well. So then put that on your stand mixer, fitted with the paddle attachment. then the next thing you're going to want to do is take your buttermilk and put this into a larger mixing bowl here. So add your 3 eggs into here. This is your wet, your vanilla extract. Whisk that together real well. You want to cut your butter into chunks here, and this is room temperature, as I said, room temperature butter, not cold butter, like you normally would use cold butter to cut into a biscuit mix, but this is warm room temperature. And all you want to do with this is process this just like how you would normally. If I'm making biscuits, I'll use my fingers right into the flour, but since this is such a big cake mix here, I'm going to be using the stand mixer. So just cut that in for a few seconds till that gets nicely combined. So as soon as that's cut in to the cake, you can start to add in your wet ingredients, your buttermilk and eggs and vanilla on low. Make sure you scrape down to the very bottom just to make sure there's no dry ingredient clumps that could be hanging around down there. Last but not least, of course, you want to add in all that delicious chocolate all at once. Then as soon as that's combined, take it off the mixer. Okay, so then divvy up your cake batter. I have 2 8-inch by 2 stainless steel cake pans here. I'm weighing each one out to 2 pounds of batter in each pan, just to make sure everything's even. And then you can just go in there and spread that out nice and even. Straight into the oven, 350 for probably 45 minutes or so. We'll check it with a skewer. So it's important to let these cakes cool down 100% at room temperature for at least 3, 4, even 5, 6 hours, or overnight would be even better. Okay, so now we're going to work on this French buttercream, peanut butter buttercream. And if you're trying to keep the toxic food out of your diet and you're using this organic peanut butter, and I strongly suggest that you use organic peanut butter. The only problem with this type of peanut butter is obviously it's not emulsified, like super smooth. Usually the peanut oil separates out and will be on the top, so unfortunately you have to emulsify that back to its original condition. So if you don't have one of these immersion blenders, then you can just use a food processor, but these things are great for stuff like this. Just make sure that it's completely smoothed out before you try making this buttercream. if you're using the organic peanut butter. Okay, so our cakes are cooling, and now it's time to make the brown sugar French buttercream with peanut butter. Now, most of the recipes that you find out there for peanut butter frostings and icings are nothing more than just peanut butter mixed up with some confectioner sugar, which personally I think is sad, not really all it can be. So now what I'm doing with this is I am making a French buttercream with brown sugar. And I think I did this recently in another video for the pumpkin cookies that we made. It was really, really awesome. So this time we're going to try blending organic peanut butter in with it to see how this comes out. So to make this, first thing you want to do is add some half a cup of water here, and you just add in the brown sugar, and you're going to need a candy thermometer, and we're going to boil this to just past the softball stage, 240 degrees Fahrenheit. Now for this recipe you'll need your stand mixer fitted with the whisk attachment, but I have egg yolks here, 12 egg yolks, and I like to get them started here with the whisk first. So whisk those up nice, and you can go ahead and start that a while. Just whisk that up. Take a wooden spoon and get your sugar syrup going here. Now I'll usually add about a tablespoon or two of corn syrup, non-GMO corn syrup. And that'll just keep it from sugaring out on you, the sugar crystals, otherwise known as a doctoring agent. Also, the other thing you can do here is, as the sugar syrup starts to cook, take a pastry brush with some filtered water there and brush down the sides of the pan. So that way any sugar crystals that get caught up there are not going to cause any issues. What can happen with sugar crystals is if a crystals start to clump together and grow, and if some of those crystals fall into your solution, it can cause a gritty sugar solution, and you don't want that. Another thing that you're going to want to have on hand is your room temperature unsalted Kerrygold or 82% European butter. Today I'm using the Vermont cultured butter, but you want that at a room temperature, not too soft and definitely not hard at all. These should be at total room temperature, pliable, so that it will go straight into the buttercream. Have that ready before you even start. So it's very important that your reading on this syrup is accurate. You want to bring this to 240 degrees Fahrenheit. But just go in there with some water and make sure that you're going around the outside of the pan to make sure there's no crystals forming. So while your sugar syrup, your brown sugar syrup, is coming up to 240 degrees, make sure that you have your egg yolks in the bowl and already whipping. You want to pull that sugar syrup off the heat at exactly 240 and start streaming it into the whipping egg yolks. You want to try to stream your sugar down the side so you're not hitting the wire whisk carefully. So after you have your sugar syrup streamed into the egg yolks, it's important to put this on high and run it for as long as it takes to cool this down to the touch, that the bottom of the bowl is cool before you start adding your butter. Very important. Don't try to add soft butter to this until it's cold. It's going to take probably about 10 minutes, maybe 12 or even 15 minutes to cool this down. You can also add in your vanilla at this point too. Just 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. Depending on what the flavor is, you can also scrape in a vanilla bean. Okay, so once your buttercream has cooled down enough, now what you do is you decrease the speed and you just put in chunks of butter here, a little bit at a time. Just take your time, let each piece sort of emulsify into the sugar syrup, the sugar and eggs. About medium speed. Okay, so once you have your buttercream at this point where it's all the butter is combined and it's nice and creamy like that, now it's time to add some of that organic peanut butter. And I'm not exactly sure how much of that peanut butter I'm going to put in this. You want to make sure that it still has a spreadable texture and it doesn't get too thin. So I'll leave the measurement in the description box of what I put in here. This is a pound, so I'm not sure. That was probably about a half cup there. I'm just going to split these into 3 layers here. Alright, so now we're going to decorate this beautiful chocolate cake with our peanut butter French buttercream. So the first thing you want to do, as always, is just put a little dab there on the bottom. Pick a nice flat piece to put on your bottom. So now, to ramp up the flavor, the peanut butter flavor on this cake, I decided I'm going to put a little bit of this organic peanut butter first down on the cake layer. And just a thin layer of peanut butter. And just that little bit of peanut butter in there will really amp up the flavor, the peanut butter flavor. I think we're going to go 4 layers high on this cake. Now, I am giving this cake a crumb coat first. So this will be just a thin crumb coat on the outside. Okay, so that's really all that's needed to get this cake to set. Now, it's really important to let this get cold and completely set under refrigeration for at least a half an hour or so until it's kind of hard to the touch, so that way you can put a nice even top coat on it. So sorry about that. I was going to show you how I was going to decorate this after I let the crumb coat set up and the camera died. So just a top coat and a simple shell pattern. And yeah, there you go. That's it. Chocolate cake with peanut butter buttercream. Huh, that's weird. Oh, hey, man. I had to have a quick change of plans. Yes, it's the next day, and funny story. I forgot that my best friend Abner is turning 76 this week, and he came over and. It's his birthday and everything, and he's broke down crying. It's something that he couldn't. After all these years, he's wondering if he's non-binary or gender neutral or something. I was confused, but anyway, the poor guy. We ended up. I ordered some strippers to come over to help resolve the issue, but they brought some midgets, and I seem to remember there was a clown or something, and then the clown, he was eating all the cake. So the bastard he left me this, there was one piece left in the box. So I figured, I might as well try to. I put it back together. It looks sad and everything, but we might as well go ahead and try this and just see how this chocolate cake with peanut butter came out. And yeah, it still smells pretty good and everything. So. Yeah, let's give this a shot. Sorry, my stomach's a little upset today. But, okay. Let's just try this. Yeah, I know the clown seemed to really like it. He's kind of getting in my face and stuff, but yeah, this is really good. The frosting is awesome. Yeah, and the cake is very moist, and pretty chocolatey. This is a good recipe. All right. Well, I have to say it turned out very nicely, considering what it's been through. But anyway, I hope you guys will give that a try. It's absolutely delicious, chocolatey, and the peanut butter, brown sugar, French buttercream is seriously sublime. You really got to give that a try. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you next time. Happy birthday, old buddy.